Bruins Beat is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
And welcome into the Bruins Beat, presented by Prize Picks. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $50 back when you play just $5. And we're presented by Game Time. Go use that promo code CLNS to get $20 off that first purchase. Terms apply. I'm Evan Marinofsky. That's Conor Ryan. Connor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. Almost Christmas, which is a fun time of year. Holidays are in full swing. Bruins are on the road. And I got to say, Connor, this trip out west, some big highs and some mighty lows. And there was a big high on Saturday. Saturday night, Bruins walk into Vancouver, strutting their stuff. Marchand with the old, let me hear you boo a little bit more. Kevin Bieksa melting down on the Hockey Night in Canada broadcast. It was like old times. They go in and win 5-1. And I think fans of this team look at this and go, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what I'm in for. It's like this constant push and pull in and out and good and bad. And Saturday was good. And it's like, where is this? Now, I did see a tweet from someone in the Vancouver media being like, this is a game that should get Rick Tocchet fired.
Yeah, I was like, Jesus, I thought they were doing well over there. But
I thought they were too. Apparently not. But what'd you make of Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, tough to kind of gauge still what this team is, right? And I feel like you'd feel even better, like even if they lost those two games to Winnipeg and Seattle, if they were like, you lose 4-3, 2-1, something like that, you're like, that sucks. Like, especially the Seattle game, like you needed to pile on points there, but is what it is. You lose, what was it? Outscored 13-2. You're like, this team might just be in rough shape. And then, as you said, like
5-on-5 goals too.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have that game against Vancouver, a team that, regardless of what they say of how they're playing, I know they're not as good on home ice as they are on the road, where Kevin Lankinen's like Hasek, dude's insane on the road for some reason. But that's a team that's still in the playoff picture, a ton of talent, team that on paper should be in the mix to have a pretty good run come the springtime. And the Bruins dominated that game, like even beyond like the fact they're generating chances. I think Vancouver only had 20 shots on goal. Like Bruins really control play for a majority of that game. I think they outshot them 16-4 in the first period. It was kind of similar to that game at home where the Bruins, of course, lost 2-0, but where they really control play for long stretches there. And that's why it's, I think short term, it's encouraging. Like that was the closest thing I think to a must-win game, right? In terms of just how poorly they started off this road trip. So in the short term, very, very encouraging. Great to see a lot of players break out. You have a takeover game from Pastrnak. Marchand has a great game. Swayman wasn't overtaxed or anything like that, but did the job, gets the win, gets back on track there. So short term, very, very promising. Long term, I don't know how that changes the opinion of what the team is, because I think it might depend on if you're glass half full, glass half empty. Glass half full, you're like, oh, this team can show that it can bounce back, can hang with some tough teams, like they got potential. The glass half empty is probably like, why can't they do this all the time, or at least be more competitive? Like, not saying you get a win 5-1 every night, but I choose probably to look more as the slightly full of like, no, they can hang with some of these teams, they can string together really strong stretches of play, and they have guys that are capable of breaking out, and I think you saw that on Saturday night. But I'm not going to get swept into like, I got to get Kreider now. Right? We're not doing that. We need to get Alex Tuck from Buffalo. Now that team sucks. Like, no,
we're not doing anything. Did you see that news today that they had they had a meeting with ownership and they're like,
you're doing a good job, guys. Yeah, I'm like, well, no one else does. So you wonder why that team's been like down in the dumps for like over a decade. But I'm not making any sweeping declarations or changes. I know the vibes were, I think, off on our last podcast. So like, this team sucks, like the mailbag we did. But so I'm not going that far or anything like that. But for the short term, what you needed from this team to bounce back, very, very encouraging to see them perform that way against, again, a team that's on paper very tough out in Vancouver.
It's nice. I'm not going to buy that much into it. Like, I'm going to need to see more of these, right? Like, you need to have a good effort against Calgary Tuesday, Edmonton Thursday, end the trip well, maybe end 3-2, and like, okay, then now we're starting to talk. Like, okay, you guys are legit. You have up and down performances against Calgary and Edmonton. We said it like last week, like if they end this trip like 2-3 or like 2-2-1, and we're like, oh God, like what do you make of this team? I think they're a middle of the road team. Like that's what they've shown. And I don't think Saturday changes that too much. What I really liked Saturday, and to me, the biggest development was Pastrnak. 4-point night, scored a goal on a wraparound, which you rarely see him score on. It's hard to do in the NHL, but credit to him for recognizing Demko kind of being down and out and using the speed to go around the net, all that stuff. And he also gets 3 assists, one of which I believe came on the power play, which nice to see Marchand.
Secondary assist.
Yeah, so the secondary assist on that. And then that pass to Zacha for the breakaway. I mean, that is like hockey IQ through the roof. I mean, that is just such a connection there. And we've said for weeks, like, and you tweeted a few weeks ago, if Pastrnak has like a 17 goal, 111 point season or something, like
Joe Thornton stat line. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you'll take that every time. And he was, he didn't have that last year, but he had a lot more assists than goals last year. Probably going to shape out to be the same this year. If he can build off 4 points, like obviously not every game is going to be 4 points, but I think he has, 11 in his last 10. Again, nothing crazy until Saturday, but if he can if he can use this at least to produce, right? Like the shooting thing is its own thing. Goal scoring is just coming hard to him right now. But if you're setting up teammates, and that also requires them to finish chances too, like it's not just his fault. But if he can continue to do this, it's a really encouraging sign for this team.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think as David Pastrnak goes, so goes this team, especially offensively. Yeah. And that's, again, one of the reasons why they've been so hard-pressed to generate consistent offenses when he's been misfiring or not been able to generate the same quality chances that you've seen before. And I think for him, it's the same thing. I think the same issue with him has been hurting the whole team, where I think the confidence hasn't been there. And when you're not producing or you're getting quality looks and they're not going in the back of the net, that hurts your confidence. So I think for him to have a game like that where you set up 3 goals, you finally get a goal. Again, it's not the traditional way you see Pastrnak score off of like a deke and a dangle or a one-timer, but hell, you'll take anything. What, tip, rebound, whatever it be, seeing eye shot. You'll take anything for him to get on the score sheet as well. But for him, yeah, like you get a 4-point night. You're feeling good about your game. You're helping your other teammates, and they're feeling confident. You have, Geeky gets his 5th goal. Zacha, I think, has been turning the corner recently, which is really encouraging to see. And again, it's not to say like, oh, they need David Pastrnak to average 4 points a game. I don't think that's going to be happening. But I think you finally see him get rewarded for some of these results now. And if that means, he's more willing to, instead of opting for that one-timer, which is his go-to move, to take it to the front of the net, try a wraparound or anything like that, to see him get rewarded, I think is really positive for him. And if it means he's more engaged offensively, he's trying to make more plays and other guys are starting to feel it around him, that can only help this team. Like we've said for weeks now, like how desperately the Bruins needed a 2-goal game from Pastrnak, a 3-assist night, something like that. And, Saturday was a key example of just how much different this team looks when he's on his game. Because when's the last time you saw a game where in like the final 5 minutes, you're like, whew, you could breathe and be like, all right, yeah, this game's wrapped up. On to the next one. This is a good win. Has not happened a whole lot this year. Even when these games they've won, it's usually been protecting 1-goal leads. And again, not to say that Pasternak's going to be on a 32-point over the next 14 games or anything like that. But like if he can give you one, if he's starting to ramp up his production and guys starting to finish around him and he's feeling good about his game, it just gives you a cheat code, which is what this team desperately needs right now in terms of how much they've struggled scoring. Yeah,
I goes back to that of like, you even look at last year and that team went as far as David Pastrnak took them. He was by far their most productive player in the regular season. He was constantly producing, and they looked the part. They were first in the Atlantic for most of the year, ended up being the 2 seed. They win that Toronto series because Pastrnak at the end just goes off and all that stuff. And like, you need him. You clearly need him. You haven't had him up to the level that you've needed him to be for the past, 2 months. And you finally get that on Saturday. And he's been better of late. The shooting issues are still there, but he is moving the puck well. And he, again, like we said this a lot last year, he's such an underrated passer. And I think you're seeing that now. And again, like if you're really liking him, Prize Picks, they've got some good ones on David Pastrnak. And Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Billions. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up 1,000 times your cash. You can go big here. You can go big. So run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. You can now, again, win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. It's the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states. That includes California, Texas, Georgia, and Florida. I know not every person listening to this lives in Mass. Not every person listening to this lives in New England. There's a lot of you around the country. We love you. Thank you. And Prize Picks, if it's in your state, just go do it. Prize Picks also now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. Join now because this holiday season, Prize Picks is giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas. Picksmas. What a name. Maybe that's the new big holiday, Connor. Picksmas. It's the new big holiday. Again, Bruins wise, like Pastrnak is going, Marchand's scoring goals. So like I wouldn't shy away from like a more than 0.5 goals in a game in any given game for Marchand. Does TNT have a game this week? I don't think they do. Bruins are not on TNT this week. I was surprised the Edmonton one wasn't.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
Because if they were, I would say you take Marchand, more goals, more points, everything. But
5 goals.
Still might not be a bad idea. Yeah, still might not be a bad idea. So at any rate, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Run that game. One interesting thing that might have got overlooked in Saturday's game against Vancouver is McAvoy was back with Zadorov. Sacco put those two back together. They won against Vancouver's top line, had a good night. Obviously, they were broken up in camp by Jim Montgomery, and I wonder if they can continue to do that. I mean, I think, Zadorov is obviously a very different player from Grzelcyk, who worked great with McAvoy for a long time. He's different from Osterley, who's been okay with McAvoy through this time. But if they could find a way to match Zadorov with McAvoy and have it actually work, then that contract looks better, which you need.
No, without a doubt. It's very interesting to see. And I think it's also been a byproduct of the fact they haven't been able to find a lot of cohesion with these D pairs. I think Lindholm being out has just thrown everything out of whack, right? But even then, like once Lindholm comes back, you assume it's going to be him with Carlo again. Like maybe I say that, but who knows? They could like super load that top pair, go back to Lindholm McAvoy and kind of let things settle out from there. You could do that. Again, that'd be a good problem to have once Lindholm is back and able to play. But you saw the results from the game on Saturday. I think they played primarily a defensive role. Like they had under 50% ozone stats, McAvoy and Zadorov. Zadorov was physical. He was engaged. It's funny because I think I was reading on HF boards for the Bruins. And of course, HF boards on the Bruins was reading the HF boards for the Canucks. And all the Canucks were like, this is why we shouldn't have let go of Zadorov. We need him so bad. So again, it's very funny. I think there is like a white whale kind of thing with like very physical players of like every team will see like one game. It's kind of like the Bruins with Miles Wood for 5 years of him like to be one game where he like smashes a guy into the glass and Bruins fans like, that's the guy we need.
We need him.
Yeah. So again, you wonder why like Trent Frederic apparently is getting so much trade chatters because I think probably a lot of teams are like, that's the guy we want when production really hasn't been there.
That first fight, they see his dad's reaction. They're like, we need him on our team now.
Yes,
and like,
exactly.
That's another thing. He's like, Elliot Friedman said it on Saturday night that he's getting legit, like a good amount of interest. And I think that's great news for the Bruins. Cause it's like, I think that's your most realistic trade chip going forward. If you to shake up the roster, I imagine they would want to do like some sort of player for player swap, because I mean we talk about a retool, but they are still in the playoff picture. But you could also go the other direction with Frederic and deal him for picks and prospects too.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think what we talked about on Friday during our mailbag, where it's like, all right, when we were steering away the conversation of like, oh, just selling everyone, we were pretty much saying, all right, other than like Marchand, which guy are you selling that actually has like good value right now, right? Like people are like, oh, trade Coyle, trade Geeky, all these guys. I'm like, yeah, but they're not playing that well right now. Like if you're gonna move them for the sake of moving them, you shouldn't be doing it because it's gonna make another hole. And if it means you get a friggin' third round pick, what's that going to move the needle? If a guy like Frederic, whether it's you're selling for a draft pick or you get something that's kind of like a Jeannot return, which again I think more has to break your way for that to be the case. I think Frederic needs to produce a little bit more, but if he's part of a, but again, like Jeannot wasn't like lighting the world on fire when he got traded.
No, but
like, I think
he's a little bit bigger than Frederic, right?
Yeah, he was probably more impactful. I would say that even if like he wasn't. I don't think when the Lightning, right, were the ones that traded for him, I don't think they saw him like being like, this is a 45-point guy. They were seeing how physical he was and thought he could be a bottom six kind of key cog for that team, and didn't work out. But I think you need Frederic to produce a little bit more. But whether it is like a draft pick or if he's part of a package and it's for another middle six player that maybe isn't as physical or isn't as maybe defensively sound, but it gives you more of a scoring threat. Like I mentioned, like I think just spitballing, like if Vancouver needs more physicality and they want Frederic, and it's like Frederic and a lower level draft pick and like a Lysell or someone for like Connor Garland, like a 25 goal guy. I think every
Bruins fan would drive those guys to Logan.
Right. I know that's probably like a big underpayment for Vancouver, but like if that kind of thing of another middle six player with a different skill set and it gives you more scoring punch. Also, Bruins fans would be happy, then they'd see how tall Connor Garland is and they would shit their pants, Evan. We know what would actually happen. Even though he's 5'10", but always delivers in the playoffs. I like Connor Garland as an aside, but I think that could be the case where if you're looking for just a different DNA, different identity, and it gives you a guy that's maybe more of a scoring threat, maybe that's where you go for if you are trying to shake up this roster, and if you're the Bruins and you don't want to commit long term to Frederic, or you think moving him can get you another piece that addresses a need somewhere in your forward core, I could see that being the case. This is a very long-winded segue from Zadorov with McAvoy, but I think that probably is a little bit more pertinent, right, in terms of what a guy like Frederic could offer you.
Yes, and I think people care about that more. I mean, Zadorov McAvoy is terrific, and I think that if they can get that pairing to work, that opens up a number of opportunities. But the Frederic thing's interesting because I don't know. I wonder if it's a case of, a lot of NHL GMs played in older hockey, the older times of the 80s and 90s, and GMs value physicality and all that stuff. And I just wonder if it's sort of a case of the grass is greener elsewhere, where it's like, ooh, like look at what Frederic could be. Sort of like what we'll talk about Oliver Wahlstrom in a second. But sort of the same thing here, where like didn't really work in New York, and I think everyone looks at him and goes, "Oh, but he was, a first round pick, this and that," and we'll get into sort of the upside there. But the grass is always greener elsewhere. And you mentioned it with like Miles Wood, or I remember like a couple of years ago when the Bruins traded Daniel Vladar, and he came in here and had a great game against the Bruins and won. Yeah, and they were like, "See, should get Vladar." I just wonder if other teams make that mistake with Frederic, where they overpay in a trade for him to get him for the playoffs. And in that case, like absolutely take advantage of that if you're the Bruins. And like if the Connor Garland thing, like that would be that'd be a big win for the Bruins if they could do that. It just comes down to what a teams value him at, which I think is the biggest thing. I think Frederic's a topic we're going to talk about a lot in the next coming weeks. So there will be more on that for sure. Our friends over at Game Time. Connor, our friends over at Game Time, they're focused on togetherness this holiday season. And that means when you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better. And maybe you're not there. It's the perfect gift. It's interesting, Connor, like around Christmas, when I'm trying to decide for people I love what to get, it can be hard, right? Like my girlfriend's birthday, she lives near the Garden, so for the past couple years, it's like that's an easy gift. Celtics, she loves Celtics, she loves Bruins.
I thought it was gonna be gift card to halftime pizza.
Gift card to halftime pizza. That's next year. You shouldn't have said
Okay.
that. That's next year.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't want to blow up your spot.
Blow up my spot on that. But again, it's a perfect gift, and it's hard. Coworkers too, a boss or someone like that, your father, your mother, a grandparent, like a sibling. I mean, especially who lives in another, maybe goes to college in another place. Game Time's the perfect app to go get them tickets. And you know what? They have a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for live events even easier. You can get them right before. Now, maybe don't tell them you're going to get them tickets for a gift and then get them like right before the game starts. Don't do that, but in a separate scenario.
Like 2 hours.
That's right. With a little box that says in it like Game Time tickets for,
Yes.
Bruins,
Game's
Avalanche.
1 hour away. I know you're living up in Tewksbury. You got to get down to the Garden in 45 minutes.
Yeah, get your ass down here. And Game Time Picks also filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I always like the seat views. I do. I like to know where I'm sitting. And again, you just get deals, especially the flash deals, discounted tickets, and you get them obviously even for games that are a while away, which makes perfect for gifts. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time because it's time to download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
It's Game Time. It's Game Time. That's what time it is. It's Pixmas and Game Time. It's always Game Time. Pixmas only once a year.
Yeah,
Game Time's all the time. So that's how it goes. Oliver Wahlstrom. I love this. Now, this is my New England Hockey Journal side of me talking. Like Yarmouth, Maine kid. Everyone, I saw a lot of people getting annoyed that shootout goal, the mini one-on-one clip was being passed around a ton on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say for a second, I don't think people realize how incredible it is that this kid who was nasty at 9 years old continued to be nasty, made the National Development Program, so stayed nasty for another 9 years, committed to BC, went to BC, was a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. I don't care what he's done with the Islanders. We'll get into that in a bit. But now he's playing for his hometown team from Yarmouth, Maine. I think it's really freaking cool. Incredible that he actually panned out, that kid stayed good. Most kids who are nasty at 9 are playing with me on Wednesday nights. Like they're not, they amounted to great people, but a lot of them did not pan out much in hockey. This kid actually did. And that shootout goal is insane. It happened right when I was growing up. He's only a year younger than me. So every kid in the shootout was trying that. Every kid in the corner with the puck was trying to do that on their stick. And I tweeted, he was like an OG hockey influencer. Oh yeah. And poor kid made no money off it, I'd assume. Like today,
of course not.
It'd be like doing spots with an NIL now.
Yeah, exactly. You have like a Tostitos sponsorship.
Yeah. Eating double trunk chocolate cookies. Yeah.
You know for a fact that the Rizzler is going to be on a Super Bowl ad. I've never been more confident locking anything in for Costco too.
Didn't Mac Jones do the celebration yesterday though? So that kind of ruins it.
It's a ruin now. Can you imagine Mac Jones destroyed the Patriots and now he destroys the Rizzlers his Riz? I mean,
he can't destroy his Riz, but I think you could pour some water on the whole thing.
His marketability, yes.
Well, Mac Jones is sort of like the Grim Reaper when he's the meme where he's going into every door, Patriots, Rizzler, all that stuff. But it is an incredible story, and I know it hasn't gone well for him in New York. I'd also caution people, we don't know what there's not a lot for the Bruins to lose in this. I completely think this is a good option. Take a flyer on this kid, see what he's got. The Islanders are not this great place for high-end goal scoring. They're not. They're not. And so, some of it can be attributed to him. Some of it to New York too. I'm intrigued. What about you?
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm trying to temper expectations, right? Where I go in just seeing what you have in this type of player. I think his skill set with that shot that he has and that offensive creativity. I don't think he's a complete player and he hasn't kind of put it all together. But again, if you're a team that's so staffed for just pure goal scoring, see what you have in the guy. Even like I remember when Merkulov was up here, he was on that power play unit where he was kind of just waiting for a shot. Like honestly, put him on the other side of Pastrnak, just ready for a one timer, and just see what you got out of the guy. Right? Like I think even that's a good way to put him in spots where you can play to his strengths. I don't think he's going to be like a complete player or anything like that, but when you look at how starved this team is for just finishers, there's no doubting Wahlstrom in that shot that he has. So, again, do I think he's going to be like a Carter Verhaeghe in this guy that, a new spot? All of a sudden he's going to be a 2020 guy, and all of a sudden he's got 37 goals. Like, I don't expect that. And I would love to be proven wrong. Clip this, please, when has like 10 goals in his first 5 games with the Bruins.
He's going to score in his first game, and then people are going to expect the world, and that's going to be like
it's going to be Brett Ritchie scored the first goal of the 2018-19 season down in Dallas. People are like, "Oh my god!" And then that was about it. But no, like setting reasonable expectations for him in this spot, and I think it's all about kind of finding what his role can be, play to his strengths, especially in the early going, and if he runs with it and does start producing, then maybe you do have something in this player. But I think the Bruins are banking on that shot, a change of scenery, and seeing him get just maybe a little bit more out of the guy. Again, I don't think he's a lock for being a middle six player, but I think when you look at how desperate this team is, nothing wrong with putting him in there, especially if it means, moving a guy like Tyler Johnson, who unfortunately hasn't produced really since getting in the lineup. And again, like, not just Tyler Johnson, but what do you know? Like, you signed Wahlstrom, and then Morgan Geekie has one of his better games in a while as well. Like, it helps bringing in this additional competition for these spots that are absolutely not set in stone right now. Look at the way some of these guys are playing.
Yeah, I'm curious where they put him, because it does seem like it would be a middle six spot, at least to start. You wonder if he goes on that third line. You wonder if they decide to put him up on the second line with Marchand and Lindholm, although Brazeau's been playing well. So it's like, do you want to mess that up? Again, I think I don't see an issue with this. Like, that's the biggest thing. They didn't lose anything in this. The goal scoring touch, if you can refine that, if you can find a way to get him to score kind of near where they expected him to be when the Islanders drafted him, like, I don't see an issue with that. I don't. And I wonder, like, if he works, let's just say if he worked, that opens up a lot of possibilities, because if you could rely on him for, like, I don't know, for the rest of the year, 15 goals, like, if that's what you could get out of him, like, so this is going way far ahead, but, like, could you sell high on a guy like Justin Brazeau? Like,
Evan's ready for the 40-goal Oliver Wahlstrom season.
I am. People can get on me for it. They can,
Well, we can clip both of these. One of us is going to be wrong. So
that's right.
He's going to have like 12 goals, and we'll be right in the middle of both of us.
Right in the middle. We can't clip this. Do I think he's going to pan out into the score that the Islanders thought they were getting? No, he hasn't yet. But if he can give you somewhere like in the middle of all that, as you said, like a 12-goal type thing, you take that. Now the question is, what is the play like away from the puck? And I've not watched enough of him with the Islanders to be able to tell you what he's like away from the puck. All signs have pointed to him not being great, like in that area. I was thinking today, I was like, are the Bruins gonna pick up like Cole Eiserman off waivers in like 2031? Similar type thing, goal score, not great away from the puck, like drafted by the Islanders in the first round. Boston, well, I would say, BU, Wahlstrom was BC kid, former national program kid. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think they got to have Wahlstrom go in the shootout. First chance they get, he's going to do that move. Got to do that move. Even if he sends it over the net, you got to do it.
Like on Saturday when the Bruins get back to the Garden, when they play the Sabres, I want to say, they're going to play that clip like 400 times.
A million. And they do it. Get the most out of it.
Yeah, whatever.
Get the most out of it. Why not? It gets a lot of crap on Twitter from people, but you know what? I think it's great. I think it's awesome. So we'll see what he does. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. It's somebody Bruins love picking up first round picks who haven't worked elsewhere and trying to, be like, have them be the reclamation projects. Maybe Wahlstrom's the next one. Maybe Wahlstrom is Zaka. I don't know. But he also might not be, and he's gone by February. So who knows? What can the people look forward to from you, Connor, over at the Globe and Boston.com?
Yeah, we have covered every step of the way this Bruins season with recaps, features, columns, breakdowns, all that good stuff. So please read my stuff over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called, you can at Conor Ryan _93.
Go do all that. That's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Bruins Beat listeners. Have a great rest of your week.